This is Joy News Prime, and this is your election headquarters. As we indicated earlier, presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom, is taking his turn at the presidential encounter organized by the state broadcaster GBC. Let's cross over live to the GBC studios where Dr. Nduom is addressing the audience.
She's not with us any longer. What is good is that she has left an indelible positive mark on the Progressive People's Party, and indeed we hope the rest of Ghana as well.
And it's instructive to note that apart from her politics, Mrs. Eveloko was also at one point in time the Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. And I think it will not be out of place if I ask all of us to observe a minute silence in her memory. Thank you very much. This is GBC and Star Ghana's presidential encounters. This is also a collaboration between GBC and the NCCE, and support is coming from the UK Aid, DANIDA, the European Union, and of course DFID. Dr. Nduom, this is the procedure now. We'll offer you 20 minutes, uninterrupted 20 minutes, within which you are expected to tell Ghanaians all the policies you intend to implement should they elect you as their president. Within those 20 minutes, we'll only ask you questions after the 20 minutes are up. And when the 20 minutes are up, I'll indicate to you and I'll truncate you even if you are in the middle of making a point. And so, Doc, over to you now.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity, and to the viewers and listeners throughout the country. First of all, I want to tell everybody who I am. My name is Papa Kwesi Nduom, born in Elmina, and specifically Teter Kasim in Elmina. And my grandparents are from Gomoa Dego. They are from Elmina. Part of them lived in Takwa, part of them even lived in Nigeria. Some of them came from Senya Breku, and my parents were both of them were primary school teachers. And I am where I am today by the grace of God and by hard work, because Elmina is where I'm from. Teaching was the profession of my parents. And in Elmina, most of us are fishermen, some are farmers, and so on and so forth. And so I believe I symbolize the ordinary Ghanaian and their aspirations to become something. And also it is important to me to tell people I respect other religions, but I am a Christian. My life has been guided by my faith, public service, and indeed by family values, because I believe that when your home life is good, then you have the confidence and you have the moral right to go out there and tell the world and do everything that needs to be done as a human being. And I know that many Ghanaians believe that it is God who determines who becomes president, and therefore, before I go any further, I wish to pray to God Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth, to touch the hearts and minds of all Ghanaians, give them life, give them good health. And as I continue to pray, as a Catholic, I pray to the Blessed Virgin Mary and all the angels and saints to make it possible for the people of Ghana to vote for me, Papa Kwesi Nduom, on December 7, 2016, to become the next president of the Republic of Ghana. And I'm pleased to have this opportunity given to me by the GBC and all of its collaborators, because I think this is important. It is important, and I want to use the time to let people know specifically what they will gain by voting into office a PPP administration led by me, Papa Kwesi Nduom, and also by voting for our parliamentary candidates. And my presentation is based on our policy document, which was launched on Saturday, July 16th, and also on the 1992 Constitution. Let me say to everybody clearly that the party that I am leading into December 7th election, this Progressive People's Party is a forward-looking, inclusive political party that is dedicated to making our nation great and strong and all of its people prosperous. And we believe in Ghana first, everyone else second. I want to repeat that. Ghana first, everyone second. And let me be clear to Ghanaians. We are a people made poor by bad governance practices and a leadership that is prepared to accept less than what our tremendous human and natural resources should give us. And to be direct, Ghanaians have wasted their votes on leadership that have not utilized all of our resources, all of our hopes and aspirations, and everything it is that we have. And therefore, the votes have been wasted on leadership that has disappointed the people deserve to be, because Ghana deserves better than where we are today. And thankfully, the people have an opportunity this year to vote for inclusiveness, to vote for peace, to vote for unity, to vote for incorruptible leadership, and to vote for competence that is based on practical experience by voting the Progressive People's Party and Papa Kwesi Nduom into office, which will bring many, many, many blessings to our society. Now, let me be very, very specific. Our focus is unique in Ghanaian politics. This is what we bring and what we are going to bring to Ghanaians. Our focus is very different. It is simply job creation based on competent, incorruptible leadership. Some may say job creation. We are the only ones that are saying job creation based on competent, incorruptible leadership, and no political party, not the NDC, not the MPP, has been so bold, so direct to state it that way. And there are reasons for it. And as we state in our policy document, the PPP seeks the opportunity to implement an efficient agenda for accelerated development through incorruptible leadership, education, healthcare, and jobs. Those are the three, if you want to call it pillars, three pillars that we stand on. And so let me give you some highlights of our non-negotiable policies. The first one is we will ensure that we reform our constitution, because there are some things that are wrong there. We don't change them, Ghana won't go anywhere. We will reform to make sure we vote to elect the district, metropolitan chief executives, just as is done in all of the countries in the world that are doing well. Cape Town, Dakar, Abidjan, London, New York, and so on and so forth. We will separate the position, the offices of Ministry of Justice from that of the Attorney General, so that we can fight corruption without the problem and without the encumbrance of partisan politics. And we will also ensure that indeed, members of parliament will not become ministers of state any longer. So we bring real separation of responsibility and powers between the executive, the presidency, the legislature, parliament, and the judiciary. And then, no matter what, we will ensure that the right to information bill is passed to bring transparency in our governance. And when we talk about a PPP administration, there will not be any more than 40 ministers of state. That's it. Not more than 40. And there will not be any regional minister position any longer. And we will rely on an efficient civil service to support our administration. We are the ones talking about not just universal education, but we are talking about free, continuous, compulsory education all the way from kindergarten, KG1, throughout, continuous, no stopping, no BECE, all the way to the end of senior high school. And every child will go, wherever you come from, whether you have a disability, whoever you are, we will make sure you go to school. And please, I want Ghanaians to pay attention to the word compulsory. Nobody talks about compulsory, not NDC, not MPP, but the Progressive People's Party, because compulsory is important. It is what makes it necessary for an administration to make sure that we build the schools, we train teachers, we encourage everybody to go to school. And so that when there are good jobs in Ghana, that every child will get a decent job with decent pay. When it comes to agriculture, we are not talking just about providing inputs here and there. We want to provide a market in Ghana for our farmers. So just as American farmers are given subsidies, they are helped by their administration, that an American farmer can buy a house, can buy a car, have money in the bank, so will the PPP administration ensure that our farmers have a market right here in Ghana, relying on the state's purchasing power. And when it comes to energy, we will not lie to Ghanaians. We will be straight with Ghanaians and let Ghanaians know that we must decide to solve this problem. This problem is not because of technical incompetency. The VRA has competence. The ECG has competence. What is killing the energy sector is government's own inability to pay its bills. So what we want to do is ensure that the financing element is put there. When the financing element is put there, we will ensure the ECG will work, VRA will work, our lights will work. And so our energy policy is based on making sure that we provide proper financing for the energy sector. And we talk about economic infrastructure. We will build same quality highways and open up the country, north to south, east to west. I'm not talking about those roads that they are talking, they say Eastern Corridor Road. You go there today and you will find that there is nothing that you can call an Eastern Corridor Highway or Western Corridor Highway. We are talking same quality highway systems and transportation by rail throughout the country. We know how we can get it. And then we know Ghanaians like sports, but we're not just talking soccer or football. We will develop a 10-year program to train and develop Olympic champions, but on a 10-year program, considered program, financed program throughout the country, starting with young people from kindergarten all the way up. And we talk about domestic enterprise, and it is non-negotiable that we want Ghanaians to be in the forefront of economic development, of industry in Ghana. So we'll support our own. We'll support our own. And we are unique also in bringing a Women's Enterprise Development Fund to ensure that the women who make up the majority of people in Ghana, that our women are given technical support, financial support in order for them to pursue their dreams. And then technology, the application of technology throughout this nation. And there's a very, very simple thing in Ghana that we are not taking advantage of. That is the National Identification System, which if we take care of it, we fund it, which the PPP will, we create an avenue for discipline in our society. So somebody doesn't go get a driver's license, go cause an accident, and then go and get another one. Or someone doesn't go to a bank, get a loan from bank A, don't pay, go to bank B, don't pay, and still mess up the system. So we're not just talking about elections. The National Identification Database, we will make sure it works. It works. And then let me just say very simply, we talk about jobs, jobs, jobs. And I'll be very, very simple. The point is that everybody in Ghana is talking about jobs. John Dramani Mahama is talking about jobs. Nana Akufo-Addo is talking about jobs. But there is only one doer when you talk about jobs. Only one. And that one doer is sitting right here, Papa Kwesi Nduom. So let me give you some very specific examples, practical examples. Rice. We import $1 billion worth of rice. And I believe in 4 years, under a PPP administration, we will stop importing rice into this country. Why am I so confident? I'm confident because my company, Group Nduom, has recently acquired practical experience in that area. Go to Raura in the Volta region, and you will find that there is a rice mill refurbished, working, now serving 5,000 farmers. We are building another rice mill in Asinbreku, and the produce, the output is excellent. Excellent, nutritious rice made in Ghana. And we believe that in the 4 years, we will put at least 1 million people to work with rice mills all over the country. In 4 years, $1.2 billion will stay right here in Ghana to help fund our development, and our rice farmers will have good money in their pockets and be prosperous. And let me give you some other examples. When you talk about cashew, today, our farmers in Brongahafo and other places, they grow the cashew. People come from Vietnam, from Brazil, from India. They pick up the cashew and they take them away. They go and process. We will make sure that there are processing facilities right here in Ghana. And give you some examples. In Sampa, in Tobodom, in Wenchi, and some of those other places, to make sure that there's cashew development authority to provide a market, to provide technical support, to provide financial support, so that our farmers, the cashew farmers, can also have good money in their pockets. And you know, the Western region, we have oil and gas. What are we doing with the oil and gas? The oil and gas is not doing much of any good for us. So we want a concentration in the Western region, build a petrochemicals industry. When I say petrochemicals industry, to produce the kinds of chemicals that allow you to develop and produce plastics, PVC materials, and so on and so forth, which is being done in South Korea, where they built a refinery the same time as we built the Tema oil refinery. Theirs is now more than 10 times ours. And they don't even have crude oil. They import it. We have it, but we just do like we've done with gold and diamond. We dig it up and we export it. The PPP will make sure that we produce petrochemicals right here in Ghana, in the Western region, and let the people in the Western region gain benefit from the oil and gas. And what do I mean by that? We will redevelop villages and towns. I'm talking about tearing them down and rebuilding them with good schools, good houses, good roads, good hospitals, good libraries, and so on and so forth, so that Ghanaians can see for a change that some natural resources has finally done something good in Ghana, not like what's happening in Obuasi or what happened in Akwatia with diamond, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're talking about. And then all those companies that are in the oil and gas industries, we will encourage them actively to move their headquarters from Accra to the Western region, so that everybody will see that oil and gas has come. It has come from the Western region. It is doing good, and then the benefits can then go to the rest of the country. And let me say to you that this wonderful thing called tourism development, you go to Mali, we will redevelop the Mali Game Park to make it a world-class tourism attraction center. And not far from there is the Wachau Hippo Sanctuary. It is a clear, this is, if somebody talks about a low-hanging fruit, that is one right there. So tourism development, Mole Game Park, Kakum, the Kakum National Park, develop it some more, all the forts and castles, develop them some more, make the communities become involved and benefit from them. And I'm telling you, the Ghana I am talking about, no one has imagined. No one has imagined. 4 years. What Ghanaians will see in 4 years under a PPP administration led by Papa Kwesi Nduom. It has never crossed anybody's imagination before. Just 4 years, and we'll see a huge difference. And let me say to you that, look, our politics is unique. Our brand is different. It is peaceful. It is development oriented, and as I said to you earlier, it's based on jobs, 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 education for jobs, healthcare for jobs, infrastructure for jobs. Everything comes back on the base of jobs, jobs, jobs. Everybody wants money in their pockets. And finally, let me say to you, that we believe in Ghanaian excellence. We believe in Ghanaian prosperity. We believe in all of the Ghanaian people, and our pact with you, the Ghanaian listening and watching, is that you elect a progressive People's Party into office. Fight for dramatically accelerated development that you have never even contemplated. And indeed, we'll fight to move Ghana away from the maintenance of mediocrity, the problem of corruption and bribery, and of putting people in the wrong places, and the failure of leadership. And so that point about inclusiveness, it doesn't matter, and it will not matter whether you worked for an NDC or MPP, or you're from the north, south, whatever. If you are the right person, you have the right qualifications, and you can do the job for Ghana now, for us to benefit now, we will give you that job and be part of the team to make it work. And within the PPP itself, let me tell Ghanaians, there are engineers, there are lawyers, there are teachers, there are all sorts of people, yes, but we want inclusivity. We want people to come together, a united Ghana for development. So what I am saying here this evening is that the Progressive People's Party will unite our country, Ghana. The Progressive People's Party will bring inclusiveness. We will send power away from the presidency to the people. Let them vote. Let them vote for who they want to govern them, to rule them at the local level, and we will see accelerated development. We will deal with the preventable diseases such as cholera, malaria, monococcal meningitis, and all of those preventable diseases that are bothering us. And finally, let me say to you, again, there's only one doer, and his name is Papa Kwesi Nduom.
Right, then that's where the 20 minutes exactly come to an end. It's amazing how you timed yourself, because you ended on the 20th minute exactly, and thank you very much. And that's the time that you have been waiting for, I'm sure, but let me just
Okay. All right. Now, so you're watching Joy News Prime, and just gone by, you just heard the flag bearer, rather the presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom, there. And I'll just recap a few of the points that he raised in his intro. He was talking about the fact that if the party is elected into government, they won't have more than 40 ministers of states. They will also eradicate or eliminate this phenomenon of regional ministers. So they won't have regional ministers. They will make free education compulsory, and the key word there is compulsory free education. The party says it will also develop a 10-year program to train Olympic champions, and that will involve training young people all the way from the kindergarten level up to the top. They also talked about, Dr. Papa Nduom also talked about a women's enterprise development fund, which will provide financial support to female entrepreneurs, as well as ensuring that the national ID systems work. On job creation, and he's been talking about this a lot as he campaigns around the country, the fact that his opponents are talking, but that he is a doer, and he referenced a project that his business group Nduom is engaged in, and that is rice farming in the Volta region as well as in the central region as well. So he's saying that under a PPP administration, rice importation will stop. So they will stop importing rice if the PPP is elected in office. He also talked about building a petrochemical industry in the western region, kind of what is done in the South Korea, in Asia. This will enable the indigenous people to benefit from the resources there. On tourism, he talked about redeveloping the Mole Game Park as well as the Kakum Park and many other tourist destinations in the country, that they will be redeveloped to international standards. He says that the party believes in Ghanaian prosperity and that if they are voted into power, they will fight to move, and these are his words, move Ghana from the maintenance of mediocrity. He talked about the politics of inclusiveness, and that is one point that has always come up with the PPP, that they do not have enough people if they're even elected into government. And he says that they will appoint people of all backgrounds and political affiliations. So whether you're NDC, MPP, or even PPP, you will be a part of the PPP administration. So that was Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom taking his turn at the GBC presidential encounter there. We're going back to that program to take some more excerpts from the ongoing program.
And what we're building is a foundation based on the youth. So if you have the other political parties, let me name them, NDC and MPP, you go and take a look at the MPP and see who's there. You let them name their people. They are people like me. We are looking to leave. But who are the people who are going to remain? Our people will remain. So we are the party of the future. So if you talk about what happens when I'm not around, I'm comfortable with that because we're building the future in the Progressive People's Party. And you talk about those policies that are there. Agriculture, my friend, those policies that have led to negative growth in agriculture in the past few years, you can have a policy. But if you have bad leadership, where does the policy go? So we're talking about bringing practical, competent leadership who have done things, positive things, with positive results. And when you do that, then the policy will go. So the issue is not just having the policies. Somebody must move the policy. The PPP will move the policy because we have practically based people with business experience, entrepreneurial skills, and people who can move it. And when I give you examples, I'm giving you examples from real life, things that you can go and see. Tomorrow, go to Raura and you will see the rice mill. Or go to Asimbreku and you'll see that there's a rice mill that is being developed. You can go to Almina and see there's a factory there assembling televisions, young people from KNUST. So I'm talking practical examples, not promises like those other people are. Okay, so there's that one. Now let's talk about the public sector. My friend, once again, when you have a policy, you have different leadership, what happens to the policy? I have said for several years that what the public sector needs is a ministry for public service to ensure that we have consistent, high-level leadership for reforms to happen. Now, what happened when I left administration? They took the public sector ministry, which I was leading, gave it to a junior minister, okay? And then when the NDC came to power, what did they do with that ministry? They collapsed it, and they made it a secretariat at the presidency. Do you hear about public sector reform any longer? How is a reform agenda without leadership? So don't look at me, look at them. When the Progressive People's Party comes, there will be leadership. And the public sector reform will move. We'll move because we're making progress. Look at single spine. A single spine, we developed it. Okay, we coined it, we developed it, and we even didn't use government Ghana's money, unfortunately. It came from development partners. And we put a program in place which was a pay reform program, not just a single spine, okay? But they've put the other reforms aside. They've put them aside and then decided to do the one that politically, people like pay increase, okay? And so everybody is fighting about pay increase. But it's not all about pay increase. It is about performance evaluation.
Right.
And so on and so forth.
Okay, and this is the GBC Star Ghana Presidential Encounters 2016 program supported by Star Ghana with funding from UK Aid, Danida, the European Union, DFID, and our media partners for this program, Multimedia and Metro TV. At this point, this is where we'll turn to our audience, both in the studio and those who are in the hall in Sunyani. But my colleague, Selike Makola Chapalu, will be moving around. Sally, I'm sure that you probably would want to have a bite at a question.
Yes, a quick one. Yes. I've been listening keenly. And Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom, you talk about fighting corruption within the government, within government institutions themselves. When you are voted into power, what will you do differently to curb corruption within your government? What systems will you put in place?
Well, first and foremost, I've mentioned, I've been in government. So when you have people sitting around the same table, it is often very difficult for you to say, this man, that I'm sitting with, he has engaged in corruption. So let's go and prosecute him. So you will realize that in the Fourth Republic, those people, even in government, who have engaged or who have been accused of corrupt activities, they happen not to be members of that political party. Okay? And so that's why we insist that we must have an office that is an independent prosecutor, that the persons sitting there are not appointed by the government of the day. So the Minister of Justice becomes the presidency's lawyer. The Office of Attorney General becomes independent, separate, so that if anything happens, like we want our money from Mr. Woyome, that there's not even any hint or any accusation that somebody in government is in the way. Okay, so that is the first thing you must do. But then what we must do, and what I will do, is as a president, you must set an example from within. So if the first time somebody in my administration does something wrong, and we make sure that everybody knows this person has done this, it is wrong, this is where they must go, and they go there, everybody else will say, now, there's danger. So we will do that. So it's important to start from within that way.
Thank you very much, Doc. Now we'll come to our audience here. We'll take 2 questions from our audience here in the studio, and then we'll go to Sunyani to take 2 questions. So can I see by hands? I'll begin with this. Begin with you.
Thank you very much. Please, Dr. Nduom, I would want to find out from you.
But then, Selika, I think the name and the institution are very important in this.
I'm William Osodro from the Research Staff Association of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. The evidence abounds that countries that have achieved accelerated development have done that on the basis of investment in science, technology, and innovation. In Ghana, particularly, investment in science, technology, and innovation has been very, very weak. Even though we are part of an African Union status that mandates us to invest up to about 1% of our GDP in research and development, we are currently with the threat of global warming and also the difficulties that we have in resourcing our R&D sectors. How do you hope to achieve this accelerated development that you just talked about?
Thank you very much. The next person, please keep it short, no winding preambles, and please, you're entitled to just 1 question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Doctor, congratulations. My name is Inicio Selete from the Sports Authority. I was happy when you touched on sports. My question is, 1992 Constitution enjoins the state to ensure facilities for sports development and promotion. I want to ask PPP government, how many sports facilities will you provide the state in your first term? And then how much of PPP government budget, or what percentage of PPP government will be spent on sports development and promotion, in the sense that we continue to see a cut on sports budget each passing year and having effect on sports development and promotion in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll go over to our audience who are watching us live in Sunyani for a question from Sunyani. If Sunyani is ready, stand by with your question. We'll take 1 at a time. 1 question, no winding preambles, please. Just go straight to your question.
A level 300 chemistry student. Doc, I would like to thank you for resolving your case with the EC amicably. We know this time around Ghanaians are going to vote for you, but my small advice is that the little resources you have, chain it down to the grassroots so that your people will be able to get it and work so that you become victory. Now, my question is that you talk about creating jobs. We know that when you complete polytechnic or university, they don't post you. I don't know, how specifically are you going to create this job such that the polytechnic students will be able to get some and the university students will also be able to get? Are you going to make it direct posting, or you are going to build factories, or what? Like, I want it to be specifically, what are your plans for them? And the second one is that we know in the northern part of this country, it is hard finding jobs. What are your plans towards those in the upper west, upper east, and the northern regions? Because that place is very hard in securing jobs. And most of the time, we see them moving towards Kumasi for Kayayi. What are your specific plans for those people up there? Thank you so much.
Right, we'll take another question, and please keep it to one question at a time. No double-barreled, triple-barreled questions. We'll take another one from Sunyani, and of course, there's always a little bid of delay, and so very shortly we'll be joined by
Union of Polytechnic Student Representative, Sunyani Polytechnic. Doctor, I heard your presentation very well. I'm honored to ask you this question. I want to know, currently, there has been a press release from the Ghana National Union of Polytechnic Students concerning polytechnic education, which is recruitment. When the police recruitment came, the polytechnic students were left out. I want to know, Doctor, if you become the president come December 7th, what will you do to empower the polytechnic education in Ghana? Though we have been moved to technical university, but still we are not recognized if it comes to the university standard. I want to know specifically what package do you have for polytechnic education? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Doc.
All right, just so that maybe I just keep you in line with the questions. The first one had to do with your plans to ensure that there's accelerated development, to keep it brief. And then the other one had to do with the plans for sports, especially the provision of sports facilities. And then there was a question from Sunyani, which had to do with your plans to provide jobs for polytechnic graduates specifically. And I think it was very similar to the last question as well.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for the questions. With CSIR, unfortunately, we only hear about CSIR. We don't feel it. And it is important that we feel CSIR. But it is also understandable that when you are in a country where industrialization is not happening, it follows that the researchers are not, we don't pay heed to the researchers. If we were doing industrialization, if we were moving in that area, we would by necessity need the researchers. And there will be investment, not necessarily all in the public sector, but in the private sectors. When I give you an example, we started a company called GN Electronics. And GN Electronics, before you can get there, you need researchers, you need scientists. And so we went to KNUST to find young people to come and figure out what is it that is needed. And we've got a research lab, a small one, that is taking ideas from people, and I hope they get to CSIR as well to find out who has a product that we can manufacture. So the point is that because we are based on industrialization, by necessity, we would need to invest in science and technology and research. So that is what is going to happen. And I know it from practical example. And what I'm doing practically in the private sector, that is what we will translate into the public sector. I know people at CSIR who have excellent ideas, but is looking for investment. How do you invest when the condition is harsh? When government itself is bypassing our own people and going outside? And I'll give an example. We're supposed to go digital. Okay, digital television, which you at GBC, you know very well. But government is not relying on Ghanaians. Ghanaians and those who have invested in that area, this government is bypassing them. And it's going to China, it's going to other places to look for people. Okay, it's a clear example of here's opportunity, here is money, here's clear investment money sitting there. But they are bypassing our people and throwing that money to other people. So we will not do that because we believe, when I was talking the first time, we believe in Ghana first, everybody second. So that is the approach that we will use to ensure that investment comes. And it is that investment in research, science, and technology that is what is going to move us. And even when I talk about rice, the rice industry, that the 4 years that we're going to get rid of the $1.2 billion, it has to rely on research. It has to rely on making sure that we have the right rice, the right rice products, okay, seeds, to the right variety of rice, and that depends on research. And since we announced that we're doing this rah-rah thing, something excellent has happened. I have gotten mail and messages from many different people that say that they have been researching and actually developing excellent rice varieties. I didn't know that before. But since we announced the rah-rah project, they are coming and they want us to come and take a look at what we're doing. Example. That is when you do. That is what brings more doing. And that is what then accelerates things. And so now the person who is using their hand to grow rice, to harvest, pounding it, to mill it, now you get machines that actually plant the rice seedlings and then harvest and then mill. And if we're going to do all of that, now we need Ghanaians who provide all those implements. And that is what we're going to do.
But Doc, just a quick follow-up on that one before you move to the next point. When you talk about accelerating development, and you talk about research being the beginning point, SEDICOM, for instance, and SADA are two state institutions that were formed as a result of research. You haven't spoken about these. You're going to establish your own SEDICOM, your own SADA, and others, for instance?
Can I give a simple answer?
Do, please.
I don't believe in them. Because they are put there by professional politicians. You can't have bureaucracy and professional politicians who believe in planting their own people, not based on competence, but because we need to provide jobs. Have you seen something good come recently from SEDICOM or from SADA? I rest my case. The point is that why do that? I just gave you one example. Just one announcement and a video of a refurbished rice mill, rah-rah, and what is generating? More farmers, more researchers, and so on and so forth. Practical stuff. I'll give you another example that I know. In Elmina, this television that we are assembling in Elmina, we have sent word out there that if you can produce any of the parts, please come and show us. If it's good, set up your own manufacturing entity. We'll buy from you. That is what accelerates development. It is not the talk, it is not bureaucracy, it is not jobs for the boys, and so on and so forth.
There's a question on sports facilities.
So there's a question on sports facility. What we have put into our sports area is that we will start from the very beginning, from kindergarten. So if you look at our education policy, it comes to coming up with comprehensive school compounds that don't just have classrooms, have toilet facilities, have libraries, but also have sports facilities right there. At the school, I went to one high school in the US for 1 year. And that's compound. From kindergarten to senior high school, the sports facility is there. So it starts from there. That is what we will do. is to start from there. You don't just go and put up a stadium in Esipong, go and put up a stadium in Cape Coast, and you say all of a sudden the sportsmen and women will come and they will be developed. You start from scratch. And I have an example. I mean, in Almina, we have put up a stadium, and now we have developed a team from second division all the way to Premier over a 6-year period. And so we know that once you start, and you start from ground level, you develop, you will get there. But you don't just go up here, sky level, and say that all of a sudden, if you look at an 18-year-old man or young man, the bones have set already. But if you start from kindergarten, where there's flexibility, that is how you get Olympic swimming champions. That's where you get good boxing champions and good sprinters. That is what we will do. It's not just when it gets time for Olympics or any of these things, then you go and look for the sports people. But we had done this before, okay? But we now need to copy what the Americans do. Copy what, I was going to say Russian, but we don't want to copy what the Russians do. We want to copy what the Cubans do, what the Jamaicans do, and do the same kinds of things. So that is that. And then there was the question from the Polytechnics.
Polytechnics, yes.
And I'm happy because what they're asking for, it falls right into our policy on jobs, on industrialization, and so on and so forth. Because when the jobs are not there, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? And when we're talking about industrialization, that is where this thing is all about. When I talk about petrochemicals industry, that is where the polytechnics will get jobs. So I'm not talking in that arena, I'm not talking about philosophy or psychology. What the polytechnics are supposed to teach, that is what we will need more of. And so they must have hope. And the kind of strategy, the kind of vision that we have, that is what is going to give them what is it exactly that they need. And when you come to our companies, I can say this, I don't want to mention it, there's a gentleman sitting where the PPP people are. He came from Hope Polytechnic, and there's also a lady there, also from a Polytechnic. And we have given them jobs in the hotel industry, and they're doing an excellent job. We are in the construction and building. And so we have engaged many people from the polytechnics, and they are good. They are good. If I'm looking for an accountant, I also go to the polytechnics, and they are good. They are just looking for opportunity. All that we need to do is provide the opportunity, bring the jobs, and they'll be happy.
This is GBC Star Ghana Presidential Encounters 2016. With us tonight is the PPP's presidential candidate, Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom.
I'm sorry, we missed one.
Yes.
So, but the northern region. You said, what am I going to do?
Yes, that was embedded in the Polytechnic question as well.
Yes, I want to answer it. Yes. You know, you go to starting from Brongahafu, go to Yeji, yams. You go to Tatale, yams, and so on and so forth. What do we do with the yam? It's just we cut them up and boil them or fry them or whatever, and that's it. And a lot of it goes to waste. We have just done some research, and again, CSI, we've done some research about how we can bring yam chips factories into Ghana. I wouldn't do it myself. I just provide opportunities for other people. We eat potato chips in Ghana. Well, we grow yam. So we're going to eat yam chips with yam chip factories. And they will come in the northern part of the country. So there are examples. The rice that I've talked about, they are there too. So we'll provide the rice mills and the rice facility. I talked about Molly. The Molly Game Park, believe me, it's a wonderful opportunity. I've gone to Kenya and to see the elephants. Look, you have a better viewing experience at Molly than in Kenya. And yet I went and paid $200 to go and sleep at a treetop, a tent, at the treetop in cold weather, okay? Because they have made it easy for you to get there. So we must make it easy to get there. And one thing, solar. We've been talking about it for years. Those of us in the hospitality industry, it's been done. It's good. But the things that will make the jobs come, they are needed, okay, to give the incentives to the private sector to go there and build lodges and so on and so forth there, an airstrip over there, and so many other things. Link it to the Wachau Hippo Sanctuary, and you can't imagine the sort of jobs that will happen over there.
This is GBC Star Ghana Presidential Encounters 2016. With us this evening is Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom of the PPP. He's actually the presidential candidate of the PPP. And we have an audience in Sunyani and also in the studio. But before I bring in my colleague Selikem, remember that this program is supported by Star Ghana with funding from UK Aid, DANIDA, the European Union, DFID, and we want to say thank you to all our media partners, including Multimedia and Metro TV. Selikem, over to you now.
Of course, the encounter is also streaming live at www.gbcghana.com. That's if you want to watch us. Let me come to this segment of the audience. I'll come to you, sir. Your name, your institution. Okay.
Thank you for coming and explaining things to us this evening from its own perspective. From the deaf community or association, he wants to ask you a question. Often, I've been watching you on television on your campaigning. I really like you, but there's no interpreter who follows you around when you're doing your campaign. So I was thinking you should have employed a sign language interpreter to follow you so that we, the deaf people, can benefit from your campaign. So that's the question.
Thank you very much, sir, for your question. Let me continue to this side of the audience.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. The name is Justice Lee Aduboy. I represent the Ghana Journalists Association. Let me say in Twi that one of them was you've spoken very well. You've given a good account of yourself. One thing that I would like to get clear, when you spoke about the petrochemical industries and then the oil and gas sector, and you spoke about moving all the oil sector players or encouraging them to set up their headquarters in the Western region and the petrochemical industries in the Western region. I wonder whether you are aware that the Accra Basin, Kita Basin, and the Voltean Basin are being opened up for exploration. So when we move these industries to the Western region and petroleum is discovered on these other sides of the country, what would happen to the siting of all the industries you spoke about in the Western region? Will there be a false balance in maybe the way you perceived the industry to be? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go to our audience in Sunyani. We'll take 2 questions from there, and then Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom can answer the set of questions. So if our audience in Sunyani is ready, it's a little bit of a delay, so it will take some time.
Have you to ask you a question this evening. My name is Boahin Evans, a 3rd-year student of the Sunyani Polytechnic. I want to ask, recently when you listen to the Ghanaian media, often you hear them say people have taken our monies, let's say corruption. Yeah, you hear about the Asofotone, you hear about the JIDA. So my question is that when you're being given the nod as the president, what are you going to do to claim our monies for us, which has been squandered by the institution, various institutions, let's say the JIDA and other sort of. Please, what are you going to do about corruption? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your question. The next question from Sunyani.
I am Salif Ibrahim Andrews. I represent Ghana Environmental Health Officers Association. Doctor, you talked about preventing cholera and other communicable diseases. If we are given the nod, Ghana Environmental Health Officers is one of the most vulnerable departments in this country. Meanwhile, we are the institution or the department that is supposed to be educating the public and prosecuting those who foul to the sanitation laws. And most of the districts have few resources to work with. You go to a particular district, about 28 environmental health officers with only 2 motorbikes who are supposed to be on the field, which the 2 motorbikes will be very inadequate for them to work with. I want to know how you're going to resource this department to help them work effectively. And moreover, politicians, especially during this season, always want to do everything to get votes. So therefore, they can even do the wrong things to get votes. They stand behind other people who go do wrong things, especially dumping elsewhere, doing certain things that will bring communicable disease to our country. I want to know how you're going to, because you are, as a president, you appoint people. How are you going to be on them to make sure that they do the right thing? Thank you.
Mr. Nduom, you may answer the questions.
Okay, so let me start with the very first one. I agree with him completely. There is nothing else to say but to say that it's not too late. We'll put one on our campaign and make amends. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. The second one, about the petrochemicals industry. I'd like to give the gentleman some examples. We did this with the gold mines, with diamond, and so on and so forth. So whereas the diamond mines itself was in Akwessia, the head office is in Accra. So there was a disconnect. So the towns did not get developed. The same with gold. Mine in Obuasi, head office in Accra. It's a disconnect. The big people are in Accra. So how does Obuasi develop? You look at Johannesburg, right there, everything right there. And therefore, Johannesburg is like somewhere in Europe or in America. So that's what I want to do. And it will be led by GMPC. It doesn't matter what edifice GMPC has put up in Accra. GMPC will go to Sekandi Takrady. And it will start the development. Because you see, it must start from somewhere. I was energy minister before, so I know what can happen in the Qatar Basin and other areas. And I'm praying that we find huge quantities of oil. But we must start from somewhere, where the resource is now, and use it as an example so that we see benefits. The benefit is not an Accra benefit. You know, the benefit should be a Jomoro, benefit. It should start from there, and then it should go to other places in Ghana. So that's what I mean, and I think it will work. And then when we let me get to the next question. The next question was on
corruption.
How do we get our money back? I have talked about the separation, having an independent prosecutor. But you see, I have also said that immediately in January, Papa Kwesi Nduom is president. We put together an independent body, an administrative one, and we'll get help from the Bar Association, from the Judiciary Council, and other people, so that it wouldn't just be me appointing some people, so that somebody can say, oh, it's based on partisanship. I want an independent group to sit there and examine all of the things that have happened and figure out, how do we get our monies back? We must get our monies back. And so it must go through that process for us to recover our money, so that there's no politics. There's no hint of anything. Or there isn't any going after anybody, witch hunting, any of that sort of thing. So we must do it to give a clear example to people that you waste our money, you take our money, you do whatever it is with our money, we get it back. We must get it back. And that would be a good way, practical way for people to know that you don't mess around with our funds. And it's Salifu Brahima. I like his question. Because, you see, in Ghana, when we talk about healthcare, we all know that in life it says prevention is better than cure. So we've spent huge amounts of monies, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, to go and put up big hospitals. But the people who are going there, what is it that is ailing them? It's malaria. You ask anybody in the street, they look, whatever, they are staying at home, but what is wrong? That is a problem. Cape Coast in 21st century, malaria, cholera. So it is preventable diseases. And preventable diseases, what takes care of those things is cleanliness, environmental health. And because I was in the public sector, I know what the gentleman was talking about. But you go there, it's miserable. If I go to Commander at Negwa for Abrim municipality, the man who is supposed to be the environmental health, he has no clout. Because he has nothing to work with, not a thing. You can't call him and come to remove some garbage from anywhere. And he doesn't have anything to come and say that you have put garbage in the wrong place and therefore he has nothing. They don't respond to anybody because they are appointed by somebody in Accra. That is why we want them to be elected so that they are responsible to the people. And what do the people want the most? It's cleanliness. Cleanliness. And that is what prevents diseases. So therefore it follows that what we will do is a cleaning up of Ghana. And I'm not talking about that 100-day cleanliness. I'm not talking about every first Saturday of the month, voluntary, whatever. We don't appoint and elect a government to then turn around and tell the people, you go and clean. Okay, that's why we vote you into office. That's why we pay people. So we must resource them and make sure they do the job. If you go to America, that is how America is clean. You go to Singapore, there's enforcement. You throw chewing gum on the street or even from a taxi. It's not just you. It is the taxi driver and the taxi owner. All of them. It's in Ghana, why? Nobody bothers. So we must bring back enforcement. We must resource the environmental health people. And that is how Ghana is going to be clean. America used to have malaria. The British people used to have malaria. They don't have it. We must learn from why they don't have it and do the same thing. And we will do it under a PPP administration.
Right. Doc, you just made an admission of forgetting, so to speak, to include deaf people on your team. Is that supposed to, can I extend that to mean that you don't have a plan for people with disabilities?
Absolutely not. You come to my media organizations, ATV, you will see that there's someone doing sign language there. So it's part of what we do. It's on this campaign, as part of what we are doing, we haven't done it. And that is why we are going to do it. But let me tell you when you listen to our education policy, you must understand how we are including everybody, not just deaf, but blind, everybody with a disability. Because we are saying it is compulsory for every child to go. So if it is compulsory for every child, so whether you are deaf, blind, whatever, we must provide the facilities so that every child goes. So with education, then you get opportunity. So that is embedded in our policy.
It's GBC Star Ghana Presidential Encounters 2016. With us is the Progressive People Party's Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom, and this program is being supported by Star Ghana with funding from the UK Aid, Danida, European Union, and the DFID. Of course, we have media partners including Multimedia, Metro TV, and I understand TV Africa has come on board as well. I'll turn my attention to you again. Selikim, I can see a number of hands up.
Yes, so I'll come into this side of the audience, and I'll start with you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I am Ahina Kwakwashe from Ghana National Association of Teachers and Arts. Doc, Ghana, from 1995 to 2005, we implemented free compulsory universal basic education. During the Kufuor's administration, they implemented a number of policies, including capitation grants and then school feeding programs. It led to a situation where enrollment increased. So it got to a point where in a class you could have a teacher to about 80 pupils. How is the PP government going to fund and implement the compulsory aspect of your free continuous and compulsory basic education? Okay. Looking at the situation in which we find ourselves, where teachers have worked so many months and their salaries are not coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to remind you that we can only take 2 questions from our audience here at a time, and then we go to Sunyani for another 2 sets of questions. Madam?
Pacho, from Emiriabil, the Abramesia, Bissam Papa Kwesi Nduom, there, Odikan, Bedanasi, Wakasa, Wakan Yina. No, I don't crawl home and cry. Say a pair rubber, and one did a bankran. Porting bag, toilet in the ra. If people papa wash and cry the whole Ghana. Yakapta town on ya. So you share if you pa, chila. Number Kwesi. A bed and a quan band above for da. Say me, you are doing my babat nada. About bomb the beefing before. I feel sweet. Wow, crum, a brum, a siam. A quan by my boboa. Ma about the mable drink and cry. Let me share. Offering it if you wisdom. A brum is here. Medawasi, my nasi.
Thank you very much, Madam. We'll go over to Sunyani, and remember that we can only ask a question at a time so that we can get as many questions out there as possible. We'll go over to Sunyani now for our 2 sets of questions.
Thank you for this opportunity. I am also Sapontiu Floss, second-year student of Sunyani Polytechnic. My question to Doctor is, during the end of our academic years in school, we do researches, which is probably known as project works. So I would like to know, what are the plans, if you are being given the power to be our president, you put in place to support us during our project works, and also to put this research into use, a good use, in which at the end we won't depend muchly or solely on government works, but we can do things on our own. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very brief. We'll take the next question.
Thank you very much. My name is Mohamed Mutiu Kambala. Doc, I have 2 questions, which based on your policies. First, you talk about amendment of Constitution, and which I'm not clear. If you can make it clear, which part of the Constitution are you going to amend when you are giving the nod to suit your administration? My second question goes this way, about agriculture. You only talk about cereal product, which is right. I want to know, what policies do we have about the other products? Example like yam, cassava, and millet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Nduom.
Okay. Let me begin with NAT. As I had said from the very beginning, both of my parents were teachers, so I'm very familiar with what teachers go through. And I have worked on teachers' registers and other things with my mother before. And so I don't understand how a teacher can be posted to a school and go 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, sometimes 1 year or more, without getting a salary? It is unknown to me. I don't understand it. People work for me. If I delay salary by one week, I hear about it. And I just don't get it. Either the money is there or it's not there. So that thing, if I were to make some promise here, it is that anybody who works for government, as long as we agree that the person must go and sit there and work, at the end of the month, we will pay that person. So for me, that thing, it should not exist. And so with all due respect to you, I don't want that to get into the issue of funding of compulsory education, because that's an anomaly. Okay, that is something. I don't even know what to ascribe it to, because if you don't know how to do a job, that is what happens. You don't pay your people. So and it has nothing to do with funding. It's something to do with incompetence. Incompetence in terms of administration. If somebody shows up, we know you have shown up. We know that on the 25th day or 26th day or whatever it is, we must pay that person. Somebody must do that job. If the person can't do that job, why are they sitting there and pretending that they are working? So for me, that part, my friend, it just doesn't compute in my memory. So it is something that will not happen. It can't happen. But then on the compulsory side, we believe so much in this that we have prepared a paper on this free compulsory continuous education, which we'll be prepared to share with NAT. And we'll be happy if we can have a session so we can go through it in detail. And we've been updating this so we know how much money we estimate it will cost to implement this. But we also believe, as many people say, that if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And we have many, I don't want to use those words, but we have many people practicing ignorance, and look at where we are as a consequence. And so we must spend the money to educate all of our children. If the Americans, they have moved away from high school as a minimum. Now they are giving people 2 years of college by Obama in state institutions. And now the new president is talking about 4 years of college as a minimum. And here we are, our minimum is junior. And then have a nation that prospers. It won't happen. So if we want to industrialize, we must have them. Our children have at least a high school education. So this, when you talk about capitation, what is capitation? It means somebody is calculating how much money you will get. And the people go to school. They say, bring this, bring that, bring your own. If you're going to a carpentry lesson, tools. If it's bricklaying, go and bring your own schools. But in the meantime, you go backwards. 1970, I sat in a classroom in a small town with less than 2,000 people in America, in this high school. And I didn't have to bring anything to school. And yet I learned carpentry. I learned metal works. I learned so many different things. All of it in the school, right there in the school. And so I'm better off for it. And how do we go and compete with those people in the 21st century? When you say go and bring this, go and bring that, and yet somebody says that they implemented free education. What is free education when the parents are still having to run around and go and buy this, buy that, and so on and so forth. And as a result, many children don't go to school. So I'm saying to you, my friend, that free, compulsory, and I want to emphasize the word, underline it, compulsory, because Nana Akufo-Addo can't say compulsory. John Dramani Mahama can't say compulsory, but Papa Kwesi Nduom is saying compulsory. It is what we need in Ghana for our children to become bigger than me. I'm from Elmina. How did I get here? I got here because I went to school, and I'll tell you why I'm so aggressive about this matter. My father got himself involved in politics, and as a result of it, he lost his job. Okay, so at some point, he couldn't pay for our fees and all sorts of other things. And we had to rely on uncles and friends and people here and there. Okay, so I know what it's like. When I first went to the US, I had to come back, work there, go in the factory, work, find some money, come and pay my St. Augustine's A-levels fees before they will release the transcripts for me to take to America to go to university. Okay, what if I didn't do that? Where would I be? Where would I be? So I know what I benefited from. I know what I went through. I don't want anybody's child to go through the same thing. And what if they were not as lucky as I have been? So we must provide, at least the little that I'm doing. Can you imagine if we had 1 million people also doing something similar in this country? Where would this country be? So those people who are saying we can't afford it, it is too expensive, and whatever, I was going to use some words that
but
I should.
before you move on, but the reality is that 70% of the revenue we generate as a country is used to pay off workers. 30% remains for you to attend to education, the agriculture sector that you've told us about, and all the other issues. And so money is important in this.
I agree with you, money is important, but you are quoting 70% of a small pot, whereas that pot could be bigger. Could be bigger. We forget that. We are leaving a lot of money, under the table. Many people have privatized government jobs. They are being paid by government, but they have privatized government jobs, so they are collecting the fees themselves. And then there are many areas. I live where I live. Okay, the tax that I property tax I pay, is so tiny compared to if my house was in America, what I would pay. But nobody, even the bill, I have to go and chase after them to come and collect even that small money. So the 70% of that pool they're talking about is small. So we ought to be able to make it bigger. And then the people who are paying the tax is a small number. Okay, we keep talking about expanding the tax net, but we don't do anything about it. And one area I mentioned earlier, national identification system. It will bring discipline into the system.
All right, look, let's go on to the other questions. How do you intend to clean up Accra? That was one of the questions.
Yeah, Accra should be one of the easiest places to clean. I love water. Obviously, I'm from Elmina. So water bodies, when we decide that whether it's Kole or Chemu or any one of them, that we must use them just like the Parisians use their river, just like the British used the Thames, and so on and so forth. Nobody will tell us that we must clean them. We will clean them. That place they call Sodom and Gomorrah. You can imagine some wonderful gardens and some other things there, not like what is there now. Okay, it would be easy to do. Some people in Ghana like Dubai. Okay, they go there, but the people in Dubai, they have dug a water body, similar to what the Parisians have do in Paris. Okay, where there was no water. In our case, there's even water there, and they've emulated it. They've stolen in a right way the Parisian example. So they go on that water body. It is clean. At night, you go there. You can have dinner on the boat, and music, and so on and so forth. Our people go. They take a look. In the past, they would go to London and say, oh, it's the white people. Now, which people? It's the Arab people. Are they better than the Africans? We can do the same here. So when we set our sights that way, the cleaning, my friend, it's not a problem.
Somebody from the Sunyani Polytechnic wanted to find out what you intend to do with their thesis and of those theses.
Again, if we are getting the job opportunities, if we are having industries, it is even the industries who will go and compete to get access to those projects and those examples that they have, which is what is happening in Germany and in China and so on and so forth. And that's how come many people like the Bill Gates of this world and others, they have come from the universities and so on and so forth and developed things like that. It's called opportunity. And when we talk about jobs, think opportunity. That is where those things will come. If there are no jobs, if there are no industries, you can do all the research you want. Nobody will pay attention that there was a question on the amendment of the Constitution. It says which parts? Well, we've said them. Number one, we need to change the Constitution to elect municipal, metropolitan, district chief executives. We need to amend the Constitution to separate the office of Attorney General from the Ministry of Justice.
Sorry, Doc, we've heard this from all politicians, but it has never been implemented. And let me repeat my very first question. So how do we trust you?
Well, you know, what's the Secretary called? There are people, you know, who parrot things. Now, if you go back to 19 and try to find out what did the political parties say. Those who had been saying all along that no, DCAs should not be elected. If all of a sudden they've turned around and a political be elected, my friend, be careful. Okay, those who say free SHS, but don't understand that you know, most of our children aren't getting to the senior high school. So if you say free SHS, then you have just cast aside the majority of our children. Okay, they won't benefit. So what I'm saying is that just listen consistently to what people have been saying and doing. Then you will know who will do the right things and who will just promise. What I'm saying is that consistency is on my side. That is what I believe in. That is what I've been saying. If you go back to 1991, I have my writings all the way through. It's consistent. All the things I'm saying to you, it didn't just show up because we have an election.
All right, the last question from Sunyani had to do with the agric sector, and that you seem to over-concentrate all your efforts in the cereals, but nothing is said of the tubers and so on.
Well, I was giving examples, but I talked about yam.
Yes.
Talked about yam. We have, you know, yam chips factory, okay? And if you also talk about groundnuts, which used to grow a lot in the north. And indeed, there was a processing factory in the Tamale area, which has gone away. It can come back, and it will come back because we know the benefit of all of those kinds of things. And palm oil, the oil palm fruit, 3 years, and is there? And in Ghana today, we are importing palm oil, the palm oil raw material from outside, not to come and feed a factory in Ghana. So it tells you that if we grow a lot of it, if we provide incentives, there will be money in the farmer's pocket. We understand that when we say agriculture and farming, more than 53% of Ghanaians, that's what they do for a living. That's why I'm concentrating job creation in that area, and then we go to petrochemicals, and then we go to other areas. And then let's not forget the lady from Abre Mesiam.
The road?
Abre Mesiam. Mamanka fancy, Osanda Obatini, Minimho, or Mamukrum, Abre Mesiam. It's Medawaside, Abana, Ebisasam. Now, a corner or a canoe, Minimacono, on ye, a quantity so. Or your console or the coachia Cape Coast. And this said, record KE, Ned's record Cape Coast, or your corner all the way. Your some Tinson, or your Zahara all the way. And a few soon, Nasa Moraka, there's a rubber, and also polythene, a brand crane. Oh, I know what. So, where you are, the Mahazino on Badu. Dema Singapore mbonwa wa yama chewing mpo ade to ho a wo de enwa o hihye baby obohwe obotwo mfonyin na wachi wo car no wachi car no wura wachi driver wachi passenger enti no ona the man so na yebohwe ya ye amwaye na mom wo orphanage no hum echiri na me na wo ye de hu komo.
Maybe you may want to summarize that very briefly in English for the benefit of the numerous people who may not see us.
What I said to her is, number one, I agree with her. The road is terrible. It's the one that connects KEEA to Cape Coast. And it's not a long one. And it is one that ought to be done. And I have actually seen plans for that road to be done. I don't understand why it hasn't been. So it's a little matter of that for that road to be done. It's an important road that needs to get done. And then she talked about the polythene menace in Ghana. And basically what I'm saying is that the gentleman who talked about environmental health which I agreed with, that we need to resource them and we need to make it a priority. And if we do that and we give them enforcement powers, but also we equip them the right way, then we'll deal with that issue. Maybe what I would add to it is that, you know, in Ghana, somehow we've come to the thinking that to deal with environmental problems is something that doesn't belong to government, that we should privatize it. So if it's garbage collection, we're privatizing. Which country is more private sector than America? But you go to an American municipality, it is government people, public sector workers with trucks, with equipment, proper equipment, who are going around at dawn, collecting garbage, removing all sorts of things, cleaning all sorts of places in public health. One day I went there and I was diagnosed with malaria. The way those people treated me, as if they quarantined me, they did all sorts of things. And then after that, somebody from the District of Columbia, Washington Public Health Department was calling almost every day to find out, do you still have the malaria? Has it been cured? They have resourced them.
Right.
Okay, so we will resource them.
Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom of the Progressive People's Party is our candidate for tonight's GBC Star Ghana Presidential Encounters 2016 program, being supported by Star Ghana with funding from the UK Aid, Danida, the European Union, DFID, and of course our media partners include Multimedia, Metro TV, and TV Africa. Selikam, do we have any more questions from the studio?
Yes, we can only take 2 more questions, one from here and the other from Sunyai's roundup, unfortunately, because our time is running out and I don't even know who to give the microphone to, but I'll give it to you, sir.
Right, thank you very much. I'm Samuel Ojesapon from the Private University Student Association of Ghana. Doc, I know we have a number of secondary school products that are supposed to go to the government or the traditional universities, but the intake or the facilities are not there. So we have a number of private universities in to support, but we have numerous challenges. One has to do with the mentorship fee, accreditation, and I know you are aware, because I know you are putting up a private university. As you become a president, what are some of the things you go graduate, and for that matter, the management of the private university institution, so that fees from the private university can at least reduce?
Thank you very much, sir. Let me remind our audience here that we are live on all 6 of GBC's television channels. Let's try and keep our phones either off or on silent. We'll go over now to Sunyai for our last question.
Thank you for this great opportunity. I'm Enchi Samuel, 1100 students of Sunyani Technical University, formerly Sunyani Polytechnic. My question is, Daddy, I would say Daddy because you are everything to me. Daddy, my question is, when you were talking about employment and creation of jobs, you were only solely on the agriculture sector. So what are you going to do to help us, those who are offering different courses in the tertiary institutions, who are not offering agriculture, so that at the end, when we are out and we are looking for jobs, we will get job and do. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one last question from our audience here.
Thank you so much. My name is Asia Hentexon. I'm a freelance journalist. I'd like to know, Dr. Nduom, what your position is on genetically modified foods. Do you endorse it? And if you do, how would you take advantage of the benefits to boost agri growth in Ghana and also seek to protect the risk that it offers? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam. That's our very last question for this segment. Abdul, take over.
Right. Doc, so the first question from the studio had to do with your plans for private universities.
Okay. Let me start from the bottom and go up.
Right.
The genetic modification. My personal preference is for organic foods. And so I prefer, if it's chicken, I want the organic one. Fish, all of it, that's what I prefer. And so I am not a fan of genetic modification. Perhaps someone would need to lead me some more. But if you ask me for my preference, I prefer organic foods. And when we talk about the private universities, the facilities not being there, you know, you go to many parts of the world, the public schools are there. But then the private schools have rather come to overtake the public schools in terms of credibility, in terms of academic excellence, and so on and so forth. I think our private ones must also continue to do something similar. And eventually we will come to understand the value of the private school. I know the challenges of mentorship. I know the challenges of accreditation. Because as you said, we are developing a university starting with the School of Business and Technology in Elmina. As a matter of fact, we'll have a dedication on December 6th. And in January, we'll admit our first students to the school. And so we're going through the hurdles. I just don't understand the concept of mentorship. I'll be honest about it. Because if somebody is not ready, why give them the opportunity to go and start a university? Okay, why? We must tell them, do these 10 things. If you're able to do those 10 things, then you can start one. And it should include the financial part as well, so that the private universities can indeed, from the word go, can gain the credibility and everything else that is needed. So that's my view on that. And can government help? Well, government can help. However, we have public universities to worry about. And I prefer that government puts its resources into the public universities and to make them increasingly affordable for everybody to go. And those who prefer to go to private ones, for whatever reason, specialty something or whatever it is, go to the private ones. But we should increase the facilities so that more of our children, if we're going to have free compulsory continuous education to senior high school, it means we're going to get more students who would want to go to a tertiary institution, whether it's about a technical university or to the other universities. So we need to increase the spaces so that more people can go. I left the last one, the jobs one. The jobs one, you know, I talked about agriculture for a reason. Over 53% of Ghanaians, that's where we are. And so if you take care of agriculture, you are dealing with the majority of Ghanaians. But I also talked about petrochemicals industry, which is a new industry that we have. But perhaps if I tell the young man, when I talk about agriculture, I'm not just talking about the farming in the field. You know, if we're going to do mechanization, it needs technical people. And technical people, they are not in the field. They are in some factory, in some workshop somewhere, working. And when you also talk about the factories, they need processing engineers. They need, you know, all sorts of other kinds of people. So they will absorb those who haven't gone to school to learn livestock or to learn to grow rice or to learn to do fishing. And by the way, who goes to any school in Ghana today to learn fishing? But a good chunk of Ghanaians are into fishing. But we have left the fishing in its primary stage. We need to grow so that we can compete with those people who are destroying the base of the ocean today, coming from other lands. So we need to develop those areas as well. So agriculture, yes, for a reason, but there are other areas. And earlier on, I talked about technology that we need to apply in our system. So there are many, many other areas that we need to provide jobs, but let's begin where most of our people are and then go from there.
And just before I ask you to give us your closing comments, a quick follow-up on the question about the GM foods. You told us your preference, but you are seeking to become our president.
Yes.
What will be your government's position on GM foods?
It will still start from there, because it is what I believe in that will guide.
What's in your manifesto?
What will guide? That's what I'm telling you, because it starts from what we, the leaders of the party, what we believe in, that GM foods is not our number one priority. We want organic. We want the natural. That's what we want, and so that is the course that we pursue. And what is it that we're doing, even in our own private lives? It also starts from there. Now, eventually, in this world, those promoting GM foods, they've become big. But you must explore GM foods with an element of safety, with an element of nutrition. Those are the things that we, as an administration, must explore to find what is safe. It's not just what is coming from someone who says is good for us. And so we'll start from what we know, what we believe in. And then we'll explore the safety of innovation that is there in that industry. And then we'll apply what is in the best interest of Ghanaians, not what is in the best interest of Americans or Japanese or the British or German or anybody.
All right, this is the GBC Star Ghana Presidential Encounters 2016. With us tonight is Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom, presidential candidate of the PPP. And this program, remember, is being supported by Star Ghana with funding from Danida, UK Aid, the European Union, DFID, and our media partners include Multimedia, Metro TV, and TV Africa. Doc, within 2 minutes, I would ask you to make your closing comments.
Well, I go back to my prayer, that I am praying that God will touch the hearts and minds of Ghanaians so that they will believe as I do, that we deserve better, that we need free compulsory continuous education, that minimum education should be high school, that we should prevent malaria, cholera, monococcal meningitis, and those preventable diseases that with better environmental health we can get rid of in Ghana. And that jobs will come. And if they believe all of that, and if they believe that they haven't gotten what they needed from those they have voted for in the past, then they should any longer, that they should now vote for the Progressive People's Party and Papa Kwesi Nduom. And what we are looking to do is to unify Ghana, to bring peace to our nation, to have inclusiveness, and more than anything else, to put our country, Ghana first, and our people first, so that if it's a job to be done, it is done by a Ghanaian. If it's a contract to be done, it is done by a Ghanaian. Even if a Ghanaian doesn't have the skills, then at least 40% of that contract should go to a Ghanaian so that the Ghanaian can learn. The Ghanaian can learn. So all that we're doing is about jobs, practical experience. And I want to tell the people of the Republic of Ghana that Papa Kwesi Nduom, I thank God for giving me some benefits, the graces that he has given me, so that as I'm here, I don't need anything from government. I don't need anything from anyone. I'm self-sufficient. But as a Christian, what I need to do is to also help somebody's child, somebody's brother, sister, husband, wife, so that they too can get what they need in this land we call Ghana. And I believe I can help many people. So I'm asking to put their faith and their hope in the Progressive People's Party. And as we have done in our private lives and brought things that has brought benefits to other people, they should trust us. Trust Papa Kwesi Nduom. And I've been happy going around the country. That now, when I go to the north, the people say, Senko She. Senko She is very simple. What they are saying is when I say Senko She, they respond. And when I say Mahama, they say Senko She. When I say NDC, they say Senko She. When I say Papa Kwesi Nduom, they say Senko Du. It's very simple. They are saying President John Dramani Mahama, they gave him their confidence for 4 years. And he hasn't given them what they are looking for. So now they want to give their power to somebody else, to Papa Kwesi Nduom. And so Senko She just simply says, Mahama, stand down. And then Papa Kwesi Nduom come.
Thank you very much, Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom. And it's been exciting. Thank you very much, Doc. And just before, Doc, there's one gentleman I'd like to introduce to you. He's Dan Afariyaboa. He's right there. And please let's acknowledge him. Thank you very much.
What do you know, Chris Master?
What do you know, Chris Master? And during these
This is Joy News Prime, and you've just been watching the presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom, who took his turn at the presidential encounter, a program organized by the state broadcaster GBC in conjunction with its media partners, including Joy News, Joy FM, and Joy News on Multi TV. Well, he's been outlining some of the policies that he would be undertaking if elected as president of Ghana, and he says that he believes in the politics of inclusiveness, such that a PPP government will include people of all shades and backgrounds in their government. That means that you don't need to be affiliated with the PPP before you are appointed into their government. So all people from all different backgrounds, religious backgrounds, and political affiliation will be appointed in a PPP government. He also says that they believe in Ghanaian prosperity, and that a vote for the PPP would mean a fight to move Ghana from what he calls the maintenance of mediocrity. He also talked about the fact that he's self-sufficient. He doesn't need to be in government in order to enrich himself. He just wants to go into governance to help the people of Ghana, to lift them from their poverty. And so that is Papa Kwesi Nduom, flag bearer of the Progressive People Party, taking his turn at the GBC presidential encounter. And that's how we wrap up Joy News Prime. My name is Arabo Kumsin. Stay tuned for the rest of our programs. Good night.
This is Joy News Prime.